This first workflow is designed to show you how to take an assembly that you've created in the Maker version of SOLIDWORKS and export it as a step file and then re-import that step file into a commercial license of SOLIDWORKS. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to my system options, and I'm going to look at the export settings. And in this case, I'm going to be exporting as a step file. And so some of the settings that I prefer to use are to export face and edge property and also export appearances. I like to uncheck the split periodic faces setting so that my cylindrical and other curved faces translate as a single cylindrical face of 360 degrees instead of two 180-degree faces. In this case, I'm also unchecking the export assembly components as separate step files. I like to export just a single step file, and then at the receiving end, I can choose whether to create multiple part files or create a multi-body part. So again, those are my favorite settings here. Again, the export face edge properties, export appearances, uncheck split periodic faces, and uncheck export as separate step files. I'll say OK here. Again, you'll notice that all of my components, my parts and my subassemblies, carry the Maker version watermark. So these files are totally inaccessible to me if I were to attempt to open them in either a student or an academic version or a commercial version. Only another Maker version user can open these right now. Okay, so now with my settings made, I'm going to go to File, Export As. I'm going to choose a step file here. And I'll also point out that the options we looked at a moment ago, I can also access them here through this options button. So I did not necessarily need to make those settings beforehand, but I like to show both workflows in that case. All right, so you'll see my settings are in place. I'll say OK. I'm going to export this as a step file, and I'm going to choose the folder where I want to store the step file. I'm going to put it in this particular folder that I've made for the purpose of this demo. And again, that's the file that I'll use. I'll export it. It's doing its thing. This process. I chose a small assembly. It's only got about 11 constituent files associated with it, several parts, several sub-assemblies. And I can see that it's done exporting now. All right. So now, over here in SOLIDWORKS 2023, which is a commercial license as opposed to my 2025 Maker license, over here I'll come to my File menu. I'll go to Open. And again, there's my my step file. You'll notice I also have access to some options here on the import side of things. And again, I'm going to turn off the 3D interconnect. I want to use the traditional import engine to bring these files in. And the other thing I'm going to choose here is I want to import multiple bodies as parts. So again, you'll recall I created a single step file, so everything in it is a individual body inside of one step file. So again, when I import it, it's going to create multiple part files, one for each body here. Okay, so I'll say, go ahead and say okay. And again, just so you'll note here, we're in the non-maker version exported files folder that I made, and we're showing all files. So currently this folder is empty with the exception of this step file. I'll go ahead and select open, and SOLIDWORKS is reading it. It's letting me know that it's going to create documents on my hard drive so that it can import all the geometry here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say okay. And you'll notice it's creating multiple models there as it processes each one. Obviously some models are a little bit more involved than others here. And now it's creating them. Some are very small models, obviously, so they go by in the blink of an eye. It's bringing up the assembly structure here. And there is my model. Now I can certainly turn off all the planes and axes and other construction and reference geometry features there. I'm going to go ahead and save. Oh, actually, before I save it, let's again look at this list of files here. We'll come to the non-maker version folder. And you can see now that I've got a whole bunch of part, and assembly components here. All right. Come back to SOLIDWORKS. And again, I'll go ahead and I'll save this. And we'll go ahead and save those. And again, there's my splash shield here. Let's go ahead and open that up. I'm going to ignore feature recognition for the moment. We'll zoom out to the big picture. And so there's one of my imported components here. Now keep in mind, because these are bodies, parts that were imported via a step file, that all feature history has been lost, but I now have a model file that can be opened with a commercial or a student version of SOLIDWORKS. Again, I don't have the feature history, but depending upon the part, the complexity of its geometry, I certainly can use the FeatureWorks recognition tool to bring these back to being, fully parametric editable models. So again, that is workflow one. I've got a file, or a set of files actually, that is capable of being, opened by a commercial or an academic or student version of SOLIDWORKS.